Neopian lore, what we got in store. Talking about the things that we love and adore. We're all over 20, right? We say indoors. And play this game. And love this game. Sometimes hate this game. But let's all talk about Neopian lore. Yeah! Woohoo!
Welcome to episode 27 of Neopian Lore. Jelly World, a world that doesn't exist. For not existing, there sure is a lot of lore. I'll try to be as accurate as possible and attempt to pronounce all names correctly, but keep in mind, this world is fictional and this is all just for fun. I'm your host, Krista Poyman. Now let's cozy up to some nostalgia. In 2002, TNT said this in the news. We have been so busy with all the Limited 2 stuff and of course the upcoming new world, Jelly World. Oh, Limited 2. Remember when tweens thought layering clothing with clashing patterns was stylish? In fact, I was one of those tweens. Why, oh why was there so much leopard print and zebra print? And why did we think it was okay to put them together? But for a while, people thought the Jelly World comment was a silly offhand joke. For a land made of jelly, why that would be preposterous. But then, a year later in 2003, whispers of the land being discovered circulated. It could not be found on the map of Neopia, but if it were to exist, one could find it by simply typing in the URL bar neopets.com/jelly. When you arrive at this strange land, you'll see the following message. In a very distant corner of Neopia, a strange town exists built entirely of orange jelly. Nobody knows how it got there. Perhaps a magic spell that backfired, or perhaps it was commissioned by an eccentric Neopian billionaire with a sweet tooth. Who knows? During your stay, please try not to eat the buildings. TNT completely denies the existence of Jelly World. Every editorial question asking about Jelly World's existence will warrant some response about how it isn't real. Even in the first issue of the Neopets magazine, it had an article in the table of contents entitled Jelly World, Everything You Want to Know About Jelly World, which was found on page 80, yet the magazine mysteriously skipped from page 79 to 81. But why keep Jelly World a secret? Even the natives wish to keep it under wraps, as the Jelly Poogle TCG has the description, "The greatest trick the Jelly Poogle ever pulled off was convincing the world he didn't exist." My guess is because they have such a delicate ecosystem. It's an edible world, and that's incredibly dangerous. If a group of grarls came trampling over, their entire infrastructure could be eaten in mere hours. Or worse, what if they didn't realize that what they were eating were actually the jelly Neopets themselves? Jelly World had a plot in 2003, though I'll be honest, it's a bit of a stretch to call it a plot. It was known as both the Green Jelly plot and the Missing Pets plot. It all began when users started noticing some of their Neopets' pets had disappeared. A concerning message appeared in the news. News just in. Many Neopets have been complaining that their pets have been going missing. We don't know why this is, and we'll attempt to find the source of this problem as soon as we can. 4 days went by, but no trace of them could be found. The news reported. Pets vanishing. Apparently more and more pets have gone missing. We still have no explanation. We think we know who is behind it, but there could be no way. He was defeated years ago. Could it be Dr. Sloth at it again? But internet detectives discovered that the pets had wandered over to Jelly World and were munching away on the giant green jelly. There were even pets who had yet to be released at the time. Days later, they returned to their owners unharmed and with full bellies. This just in, it seems all the pets that were missing have returned to their owners. I wonder where they went. It's a shame that they can't talk. One thing is for sure, they all seem very happy. The munched-on giant green jelly remains in the land today, and you see the following message if you visit it. Wow! A previously unexplored area of Jelly World. Looks like somebody, or something, has been busy nibbling at this yummy green jelly. How did all the pets know to meet up in a land that most users didn't even know about? It makes me think someone lured them there or tried to gather them into some sort of pet army, but they took a detour and the plans were abandoned. Who, you might ask? Sloth is always an obvious option, as hinted by the news, but it could also be the Meepits trying to build their ranks. Or maybe a resident of Terror Mountain, collecting pets to sacrifice to the snow beast so an ancient curse isn't released. You think I made that lore up? Nope. That tidbit is canon. Check out the game Snow Beast Snackerfice if you don't believe me. However, this plot put in perspective the amount of destruction a group of pets could do to Jelly World. And what if the green jelly was incredibly important to the citizens, a piece of art or something sacred? If word were to get out about the land, it could be much, much worse. Not all are keeping the land under wraps. If you head over to the Darrigan Citadel and play Cell Block, which I highly recommend, the game is great. There is a prisoner who will not stay silent on the topic. Quote, known only by his prisoner number, Number 5 is a peculiar old loop who keeps banging his stick against the wall and shouting things about Jelly World. We all know that Jelly World doesn't really exist, so it's a good thing he's locked away. I desperately hope he's not locked away because of his belief in Jelly World, that some entity isn't trying to make him an example. Imagine being locked away for something that is true. My favorite Jelly World item is a book called Proof of Jelly World's Existence. Description: some people claim this is irrefutable proof. You want to know what the item looks like? It's an image of nothing. Absolutely nothing. There are a few items that reference Wobbleshire. For instance, the wondrous Wobbleshire background with the description, "Behold, a land made entirely of jelly." Wobbleshire could be a city or town of Jelly World, but it could also be the quote-unquote true name of the land, that outsiders came up with the name Jelly World, but the residents know it as Wobbleshire. For instance, Americans use the word Germany, but natives call their country Deutschland. In reverse, Germans call the United States Vereinigte Staaten. Let's do some exploration of the land. Jelly World is not a peaceful place. It's deceptively dangerous, as the game Bouncy Supreme shows. P.S. All Jelly World games can only be found in the land and cannot be searched for in the games room. There is a part of Jelly World where the jelly isn't as tasty as it should be. An inhospitable place filled with jelly volcanoes, rivers of jelly lava, and ominous jelly clouds. In this game, you play the part of a rather unlucky jelly bloomeroo, who has bounced his way a bit too far away from home and really wants to get back. Unfortunately, a gigantic pterodactyl has spied his lunch. To play, you have to bounce from pillar to pillar using the mouse to set the direction of travel and how far you wish to bounce. Collect coins for extra points and beware of the pterodactyl. If you take too long, he'll arrive, and he has brought his own ice cream and sprinkles. As there is a normal pterodactyl chasing after you in the game, not one made of jelly, and the abundance of volcanoes, one might assume that Jelly World is located close to Tyrrhenia. But Tyrrhenia is a warm place, known for their excessive droughts and volcanic explosions. The thing about jelly, though, is when it's warm, it liquefies. Yes, you can explain any lore away with the word magic. Perhaps a fairy blessed the land to keep Jelly World from melting, but TNT provided their own explanation in the editorial, quote, "So if Jelly World existed, which you know it absolutely does not, then I would imagine they have some type of system to keep all the jelly cool. I would also imagine it has taken them years and years to perfect this system, and they would be very proud of how successful it has been. You know, this is if Jelly World existed, which it doesn't. Sure seems complicated. Hopefully they've got a team of good engineers if something were to go wrong with this cooling system. How did Jelly World come to be? As its description says that its creation was perhaps a magic spell that backfired, what if instead of magic, it was created by a lab experiment gone wrong? If that's the case, the game Scourge of the Lab Jellies could point to who created it. The description of the game is as follows. He only wanted to create the best jelly in Neopia. During one of his lab experiments, a mad scientist accidentally created jellies that multiplied out of control. As he tried to find a way of reversing their multiplying effect, the scientist realized that if 5 of the same kind of jelly formed a line, it would cause a chain reaction and the jellies would end up destroying each other. For each jelly he destroyed, though, more took its place. In the game, you play as a techo-scientist who looks oddly like Dr. Death, yet he is made of blue jelly. We don't know anything about him besides the game, so one must wonder if the experiment backfired on himself, painting him jelly. We know that this problem has escaped the lab at one point and affected Rue Island, as is Better Than You quote says, "When they said there was a little gummy problem on Rue Island, I thought they meant small. This is an epic infestation of deadly proportions. It's a good thing I was brought in to supervise the counterattack, but it may already be too late." So it could be possible one of the little jellies got out, hitched a ride on a Neopet, mutated, and multiplied into what Jelly World is today. If that's the case, who's to say it wouldn't keep multiplying, spreading to cover the entirety of Neopia? Is that why there's a giant jelly? To keep Jelly World in check? The giant jelly is a daily that awards a free piece of jelly each day, which is 2 servings of food. Delicious jellies such as fish, cheese, and lint. Avoid the poisonous jelly as it will make your pet sick with pneumonia, and definitely avoid the glowing jelly as it has a chance of changing the color of your pet to glowing, though extremely rare. Unlike color-changing random events like Bucci or Sadness turning your pet blue, this one is still active, unless you see it as a challenge. Apparently, it is a 1 in 5,000 chance, so have fun! Occasionally, the giant jelly will be eaten, and you have to wait a bit to get your portion. To make sure no one takes more than they should, there is a red jelly walkie known as the Jelly Keeper who stands guard. "No, you cannot take more than 1 jelly per day." The Jelly Keeper prides himself on being a wobbling champion and even has a rivalry with Wallace, the red walkie from Wicked Walkie Wobble. Quote, "Nobody wobbles better than I do. I am the champion of wobbling. Wobbling is my hobby and my way of life. Also, you may have noticed I am a walkie, but am I wicked? Well, ask yourself this. If I am here, where is Wallace? Mwahaha! That's a bit ominous. Speaking of ominous, another game you can find at Jelly World is Jelly Blobs of Doom.
In a world where everything is made out of jelly, it's eat or be eaten. It was a time of war, a time of heroes. He was a Chombi, a very hungry Chombi. There was only one who could help him fulfill his destiny. Then they came. Movie coming winter 20XX. Keep checking this page for updates.
Excuse me? A movie? Oh, don't tease. I will keep checking this page. You start the game as a tiny jelly Chombi. You slide around and can only eat jelly that is smaller than you. If you don't, the jelly will eat you. Progressively, you get bigger, and in turn, you can eat larger jellies. Beware, though, there is a giant jelly that occasionally appears that fills the entire screen. This game truly puts in perspective eat or be eaten. It also begs the question, what makes these blobs of jelly sentient? They remind me a lot of the Pet Blobikins. They can grow to enormous proportions, becoming what is known as the gelatinous non-cube, an obstacle seen in both the Lost Desert plot and Altador plot. Weirdly, there is a jelly Blobikins even though they already are made of gelatin, and it looks like a vintage Jello Salad. One piece of American history that has always fascinated me from the 1950s and 60s is the Jello Salad. The Jello Salad is a piece of art, taking colorful foods, doesn't matter if they go together, and encasing them using intricate molds. Who wouldn't want shrimp with apple and radish slices? Doesn't that just sound so delicious? Or peas, carrots, and chicken all in one wobbly masterpiece? Honestly, Jello Salad does fit perfectly in the world of Neopets. So Jello is technically a brand name, though there is a Neopet item called the Creamy Jello Jigglers. TNT missed that one. Gelatin, or known as jelly in the UK, has been a dessert staple since the 15th century. It was labor-intensive, and only the rich could afford to eat it. In the 1800s, powdered gelatin was created. Gelatin doesn't really have a flavor, but Pearl Bixby Waite, the creator of Jello, added fun flavorings such as lime and raspberry. There was also a push towards processed food, as there was an expose on the meatpacking industry and how unsanitary and unsafe it was, a book called The Jungle. Companies started using brand names as it showed that the food was pure and safe. Boxed and canned foods were seen as the future, Jello being one of them. The company had a dip during the World Wars as there were rations on sugar, but it boomed back in the 50s and 60s as refrigeration was now in most households. Jello salads were seen as an art form, and there were entire magazines dedicated to recipes for Jello salad. They started to be less common in the 70s as there was now a push to eliminate sugar from the diet, and many women were entering the workforce and didn't have time to make elaborate Jello dishes. Did anyone actually enjoy the taste of a Jello salad? It truly was just a sad version of a casserole. Traveling back to Neopia, besides the jelly lava, giant sentient jellies, and the concern of always being eaten, there is something else not quite right with Jelly World. When you explore the land, there are a few jelly chias blending into their surroundings. They have no face, yet something seems fishy. Remember at the beginning talking about prisoner number 5, the one obsessed with Jelly World? He has this better than you quote.
Doom! Doom! Oh, I didn't see you there. Are you my contact? Quick! The exchange has to be undetectable, or they will see it. They mustn't know. I need you to take this ball to the far end of the Wingoball fields. Don't let them have it.
Who is them? Something else of note is the Altador Cup's practice team, comprised of 5 jelly chias named after tropical fruit: Lemoran, Togobo, Vinarok, Wartroot, and Zenana. Though they are not the original practice team. For the first 2 years of the Altador Cup, it was made of 5 different jelly pets: a bloomaroo, a cow, a kugra, a teko, and an usul. But in year 3, they were replaced by the chias. There is no mention to why the other 5 suddenly left. Wartroot, the goalie, even decided to branch out and host the Altador Cup game, Shootout Showdown. Even when you win, Wartroot laughs. There's something about him, it's creepy. Will Jelly World ever have an official team, or will these jelly chias forever be in control? Some final Jelly World mentions. Pets and pets can be turned into jelly, but only by the Lab Ray and the Pet Ray, though there is an unreleased jelly paintbrush. There was also a Jelly World board, known as Board 18. One had to put in a specific code to access it. All topics were fair game, except talking about Jelly World, of course. Doing so would warrant a warning from TNT, though it wouldn't actually be a strike against your account, just to give you a mini heart attack. Unfortunately, since 2020, it is no longer possible to access Board 18. That is, as far as we know. For did it ever actually exist? Or did the board, along with this whole episode, just been a wild dream? Well, that's all for this episode of Neopian Lore. All characters and licensing belong to neopets.com. Music was created by me, Krista. I hope you have a bouncy day in Neopia.